Howdy, howdy, folks. Welcome to the first adventures of Chronicles of Orenthal, I believe is our working name. Orenthal is the name of the country you are in. This particular adventure will take place kind of in the northeast side of this continent. You can't tell me what to do. Jeff's already a mucking. The northeastern side of the continent. If you were around a lot the other day when I was doing world building stuff, there's the capital city, which is kind of on the coast, and then there's a big mountain range that comes down. You're a little ways south of that, and kind of off to the east, a little deeper within the mountains. Getting hyped in chat. I love it. Deeper within the mountains. Our character is from a town called Selgren. It is a smallish place of about 500 people. So not tiny, just barely big enough to have a town guard, which is what Dexuru, our main character, did before he was let go. So, after being let go from his job, their job, I should say, Dexuru has set out to hopefully find a new place in the world. Following their wander-born instincts, they're currently en route to the nearest larger town. Tell me, Dexuru, as you are making this walk and having these reflections about that final moment in the guard shack with your former supervisor, how do you react when he tells you that you are being missed for insubordination? Context for your insubordination dismissal: that the mayor of the town had appointed his not particularly well-equipped son to be essentially the deputy guard captain. He's a very driven... The son, whose name is Thelen, is a very driven person, but he can be sort of toxic, and immediately upon his appointment, you got the impression that he did not like you. So tell me, what plausible but kind of dangerous activity did Thelen try to pressure you into doing that you refused to do? I think we would not be very surprised since we were looking at some corruption. Yep, and that's, like I said, part of this first episode is going to be fleshing out the character a little bit. So don't be surprised if I ask you a lot of questions. Probably better to leave, honestly, yes. So let's go over the incident with Thelen first. My idea is that he was trying to get you in trouble somehow, so he sent you out to do some sort of crazy thing that is technically maybe within what the guards would handle, but is also kind of stupid and dangerous and probably would have gotten you hurt. Thelen's goal was to try and get you in trouble. That much is apparent to you. Weapon training with minimal safety things in place? That's a good idea. Maybe Thelen was overseeing some training for you and kind of being a jerk about it. That is something where somebody who has experience with a weapon could definitely make it unsafe somehow. Maybe he was trying to somehow, like, break your leg or something without people noticing. We give us a search some kind of that we didn't have. Yeah, like maybe inappropriately squaring up against a merchant or somebody who you knew well. There's no right or wrong answer here, by the way. Part of Daggerheart is that's supposed to be very storytelling in nature. So when I ask you these questions, it's to try and kind of get you into that mindset. Consider it like a warm-up. Astonished insubordination. I know you are heard to use actual sharp blades during training, but it would just get people hurt. For those who are new here, I think we're gonna follow, if you've played any of like the Twitch Tales games, quotation marks tend to mean something that you actually want to say. It kind of helps me visually see if that's something like you're saying in character or if you're just asking a question, like a clarifying question. Our personality, are we assertive, non-confrontational? That's what we're trying to suss out here. Or a wanderborn fawn, so you were kind of used to wandering around, presumably on your own. We picked out the stalwart subclass for Guardian, which is more of a like defensive tanking kind of class. We also decided that Dexuru was a town guard. I get the impression that people did not consider them to be corrupt in any way, but that could change depending on how people act. So yes, Felon was trying to get you in trouble. I do like the idea of him trying to actively hurt you in a training incident, but in a way that was maybe not like obvious. And then when you like got mad and complained, he started trying to drill into people that, oh, this person is being insubordinate, they're not listening, they're a danger to everybody because they don't listen. I don't even need these weapons to keep the peace. So we take the opinion that the truth will set us free, and we didn't argue about leaving. Okay. So if we're going with the felon actively trying to hurt you during training and you being like, hey, that's not acceptable, and then him abusing his authority as like a deputy guard, yeah, I think that's good. I like that. Then you would have had a meeting with, I've got the names written here, Doris Longfell, who is the guard captain of Selgren. Technically, he is Thelgin's, can't say words, Thelgin's superior, but Mr. Thelgin is the son of the mayor, who has a certain amount of power in a very small town. Because it was not something immediate obvious, Zurus would have had no reason to punish Thelgrin. Stalwart person. Yep, that is a valid thing to say. How this meeting would have gone is Zurus would have called you into his office. He is a tall furbolg. He would have brought up, hey, Thelgin says that you are not. He says that you are actively trying to interfere with people's trainings. You're refusing to train. Like, that's unacceptable, and he would have run you through some of your options. Do you think, just for me to know, do you think you would have immediately argued with him? Do you think you would have attempted, like, throw the blame back on Thelgrin? This is where we're sussing out your character a bit. Argue or point? Yeah. It's entirely reasonable. You might know that arguing back against the mayor's son is unlikely to lead anywhere, because, well, Zurus is Thelgrin's superior. Thelgin's dad is Zurus's superior. I get the impression that Zurus is not somebody who really likes to cause drama, for better or worse. Very much tries to keep the peace, and the last thing he wants to do is get in a fight with the mayor. Would have known him long enough that you would be aware of that. I think we expect to stay apart and accept whatever comes. Yeah, I think we'd at least say something about what you wanted was pull but not push it. So maybe try to make your case that it was a dangerous exercise and that essentially blaming Thelgrin. You think you would have had an outburst, is basically what I'm getting at. Do you think you would have been angry? Do you think you would have been accepting of the fact that sometimes it's just this way? Yeah, be a bit assertive, but ultimately back down. So accept the punishment without like arguing. It's kind of that, what do they call it? Like when you accept a sentence you accept a sentence from a judge without admitting fault. That kind of idea. Yeah, I like that. Maybe your character's a little more stoic. In that case, Zurus would have pulled you aside. He would have said, look, the mayor wants you out of here. Thelgrin, it's pretty obvious Thelgrin's not your biggest fan. I think it's best if you maybe get out of town for a little bit. Get away from them. Maybe they'll settle down eventually. I'm sure Thelgrin will get bored with playing guard eventually. But I'd hate to see you in trouble, kid. So then, presumably, you would have taken his advice. My impression is that this is probably somebody you respected. Do we think Dexuru would have been, as a Wanderborn, would they have been on the guard for a long time? Do we think Selgrin is their hometown, or that they wandered in and have just been here for a few years? Tell them if they want to kick us out, just do it. No need to invent some BS reasons for it. Yeah. Zurus definitely catches on that you're frustrated. But it's one of those things too, sometimes the politics you just can't win against. Rather leave them be an environment of constant strife. Yeah, and that's essentially what Zurus tells you. It's our hometown, but we have left before. That would be reasonable. It is a smaller town. There are larger towns nearby. Wandered in, wandered or I mean wandered out. Yeah. Okay, cool. That tells me some things about your character. So at Zurus's advice to kind of keep the peace and maybe for your own safety, because from what you know about Thelgrin, you know that he's a very he doesn't give up on the thing. Like once you upset him, it's very difficult to get him off your back. It's probably best to just take the space for a bit and then hopefully things settle down. Maybe you can come back later. In that case, it explains why you would have your key ring in your armor. We had established in session 0 that the armor would have come from the guards, like a copy of a guard outfit maybe that you had made while you were being a guard. Good option. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that for a Wanderborn. So these are the kind of things you're reflecting on as you're walking. You know for a fact that there is a slightly larger town. You are up. Selgrin is kind of up higher in the mountains. It's a community predominantly of like fawns like yourself who are comfortable on the top of the rocks. Some dwarves who are also very. A lot of the dwarf population is located in these mountains. Furbolgs, a couple of orcs maybe, and then you get the occasional wanderer of various different ancestries, but that's kind of what your hometown is like. The fact that Thelgrin was gunning for us, other people might get hurt by escalation. That's a good consideration. I like that. You definitely know that Thelgrin can be quite mean when he wants to be. We're on our way from Selgrin. Your original destination, I think the first place that would have come to mind would be a town that you have probably gone to before, maybe for training, for shopping. It would be a larger place with more merchants. Let me check my notes. I believe it is about 2,000 people. So pretty sizable. It would have all your like basics. There would be an inn, there'd be like a blacksmith, there'd be a little more trade coming through. Because this town is set a little further. Well, you guys are deep in the mountains. This is a little closer to the edge of the mountain range, right? Like closer to where it turns back into flatlands. The town you were heading towards is called Peakfall. I gotta go, Dodger's leaving for camp. No worries, thanks for stopping in. You were heading towards a town called Peakfall. Do we make this the first roll of our game, you think? You guys want to do a history check on why it's called? You would have a general idea of Peakfall, but let's see how much you know about it. Is there going to be an outline I could read? Oh, I'm planning to post some notes, don't worry. I will put something in the Discord within the next day or two. Oh, I'm going to write some of that down. Gosh darn it. I believe this would be a knowledge, which you're not bad in. It's not your -1 stat. Let's do a recall. One of the like subcategories of knowledge. I don't think it really affects your modifiers anyway, but we'll do a quick roll. See what we remember. It's kind of a history check. Not bad. That is a 20 with hope. We will give you a hope. For those of you who are not familiar with Dagger Heart, what I just asked for, part of the reason I asked for it, is it's a reaction roll. Oh, you guys can't see. There you go. Reaction rolls. Okay. You guys might have to yell at me. I have to hit the transition button every time. But that was what you rolled. You rolled an 11 on your hope die and a 9 on your fear die. I'll go back immediately. Yes, reaction rolls in Dagger Hearts. They generate hope and they generate fear. Hope is a resource that you can use for like your class feature. There's certain attacks that use it. It can add certain bonuses. Fear is the DM's resource. So you can see I started out with one. Normally, when you have a larger party, you'd start out with more, but there's one he is. Fear is what the DM uses to activate certain adversary, like monster moves and stuff. When you get into combat, there's also things like you can use fear to make something kind of like a negative consequence happen. It's not meant to be a punishment. It's meant to help drive the story forward, just to kind of give some expectations on that. So when you roll with hope, you generated a hope. You also did make the DC. So for Peakfall, I will say you probably would have actually been there a couple times. Faster without the transition. Yeah, it doesn't switch to the dice cam though, unless I'm missing something. OBS doesn't show it switching. That might be something. That'll be another thing I put on my list of things to fix, but for now, we just gotta suffer. Peakfall. So a quick history lesson in Orenthal. An indeterminate number hundreds of years ago, it would have been a couple generations before you, there was a very large-scale magical war. There was a ton of destruction, and there's actually a lot of after effects. You haven't encountered it, but you would have heard of something called the Great Miasma. This is essentially like rogue magic that is kind of floating in some places. The mountains are actually quite safe because there are certain materials in the mountains that like bind to it and kind of render it, the miasma, not dangerous. It kind of renders it inert. So actually, the dwarf population stuff is much larger than it would be compared to others because the mountains have kind of protected these species. Miasma. Yeah, there was a pirate that was like, miasma. No, miasma. I'll spell it out in chat for you. Miasma. Yes. Great miasma. It's just a fun word, but it's supposed to refer to like kind of a noxious gas kind of thing. In this case, it is rogue magic, and it can have negative effects on people's bodies. You would have known that there were a lot of deaths in this war. There's a lot of like uncertainty around magic even nowadays because of how much damage was done. The reason I tell you that is because the name Peakfall comes from the fact that during this war, a couple generations ago, there was a mountain that was caught in a blast, and it literally took and it just shaved the top of the mountain off, like just blasted it clear off. Miasma, got it. Yep, specifically named after Jeff's asthma. It would have blasted the top off the mountain, and it would have like created this plateau, and then all the rubble kind of piled up into this nice slope. So it's actually a very well protected area. Peakfall. Guys are gonna make me work on my enunciation. Peakfall. Like the peak of the mountain fell down. That is where the name comes from. You would know that it's... They've got a pretty good standing guard. It's considered an easier outpost because there's like the plateau on one side and then the slope's kind of the way to get back up there. So you can basically see any monsters stuff coming from a mile away. There's a large mining operation in Peakfall. Maybe that's something you're considering doing because you have to make money somehow, right? There's a solid, large mining operation there too because the blown off mountaintop kind of exposed a lot of resources. It's easier to get. There's a lot of like moving of rock and stuff that had been shattered from the top of the mountain. Yeah. It's also large. It also serves as kind of like the entry town for getting deeper in the mountains. So a lot of people who are coming to like Selgren will pass through Peakfall and then kind of take the trails and stuff out of there. It's It's kind of a hub town. Cool. I had the idea. I was very proud of Peakfall. it, the idea of like a mountaintop just being blasted off, it kind of gives you an idea of the type of magic that was in use. Are people that we happen to know there? Probably. Maybe once you get into town, we'll check. I would imagine you would know a handful of the guards. Maybe there were some joint training exercises. Maybe you would have met some of the merchants. As we suss those people out, we'll start tying them into the story. Cool, excellent. So, first, you've got to get to Peakfall. I think being as comfortable on the mountain as you are, there are trails that kind of come down to the base of the mountain where the land's a little easier. So if you're traveling by cart or merchants like coming to some of the smaller towns, they tend to have to take the long way. You, however, if you'll look at your experience, you will see you've got mountaineer on there. You are somebody who is comfortable in the mountains. Like you climb mountains. I'm thinking of like a mountain goat and they're like climbing up sheer faces. You're pretty comfortable. You're pretty knowledgeable about how to climb and all that fun stuff. So, you are taking a slightly shorter route. It's not as well sorry. Not as well trodden as the main route is, but it's going to be significantly faster. And with that, I would like to introduce you to one of my favorite features of Daggerheart, which is countdowns. We're going to see. I'm going to start 2 different countdowns. Need a D10. Oh, I've got D10. Oh, here. Let's use your die. Up here on camera for you. Yeah, the whole time. Boom, boom. There we go. Gotta delete that transition. I see what you mean. Thought fear. Or blade ancestry. You get it. So the fawn ancestry gets the green leap, I think it's called. Which mechanically means that you have like a climb speed. You can leap anywhere within close range as though you were using normal movement, so you don't take like the half movement that you might if it's if it were difficult terrain. But yeah, that's kind of why we thought like Mountaineer would be a good one. Like explicitly, the way to use experiences is if you can tie it into like an action roll you're making, you can add +2. You can spend a hope to add +2 to the roll, essentially. Yep. Exactly what Maz posted about Green Leap. That's the exact wording of it. What was I saying? Yeah, so if you were making some sort of action roll to see if you could like get across some rocky terrain, right? Maybe like really unsteady rocks or rocks that are ready to give way. That would be something where you could be like, well, as an experienced mountaineer, I know what it looks like when something's unstable, so I should be able to pick my footing a little better. And then I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. You can spend your hope to add 2 to the roll. Something I like about Daggerheart is that it's a lot more the experience works as like very liberal modifiers essentially. All right, so a D10. We will start. We'll start at the 0. Way maybe. I want those in the way though. Here, 0, and then I think I said D6. Explain you how this is gonna work. D6. So you have about 6 hours left of the traveling day before it starts to get dark. You would want to consider making camp through the night. Even as well versed in the mountains as you are, you probably don't want to push it. There's a lot of wildlife that you could run into, and you've had a long day. You would just prefer not to. Can I get these? I'm gonna pull up on this camera a bit. Here we go. Now we should have the box. You'll see there's these. And we'll start at the 0. 6. Don't worry, I will keep track of this for you. How this is going to work is you've got 6 traveling hours, essentially. I'm going to give you 6 actions to cover an abstracted D10 like units to get to Peakfall. You're making your way through forested, kind of rock mountainous terrain. Wands have dark vision? That's a good question. I don't think it says. But it's less about the dark vision and more about danger. I'm not saying that you have to stop at 6 hours, but you will run the risk of. Well, let's get into this first. Alright. So you have a countdown 10 distance that you need to cover. How countdowns work is you perform an action, and then depending on the result and the type of countdown, it may tick up, it may tick down, it may tick down no matter what. The 2 I have here, the 6 is going to tick down each action no matter what. You're essentially taking an hour to do something to get to Peakfall. The D10, you don't have to necessarily succeed on 10 actions, depending on how well you roll and if you roll with fear or hope. I will tick that down. Once that reaches 0, you will be to Peakfall. However, this D10 can also tick back up if you encounter some sort of difficulty. Does that make sense? Give it a go. I have my table here. Related, like if you crit, you'll probably get a bonus. It means you made really good time. But let's, for this countdown, what are you doing to try and get to Peakfall quickly? Are you maybe pushing across some rocks that are a little riskier, like something you wouldn't want to have gone past on a caravan, but that you as a fawn are comfortable attempting? Are you maybe risking like fording through a river to try and cut down on time? Are you spending time looking for bridges or better footpaths? That's just some ideas, right? When I do countdowns, I like to give the players the option to kind of describe what they think their character would do. Yeah, taking shortcuts, I think, while we have the energy. Cool. Do you think you're like pushing through a river, maybe? Instead of going straight? Yeah, or sticking. You would see that there are kind of desire paths. Like, it's not that people never come through here. There's definitely hunters and stuff, but it is very much not like a proper road. If you're not familiar with the desire path, it's basically like a little bit of downtrodden grass that happens where people walk repeatedly. So yeah, there would definitely be some of that here because of hunters and big animals walking around, things that would make it easier to push through the underbrush instead of going straight. I mean, I'm picturing it as you're kind of going around the like further up on the mountain instead of having to go down to the base where it's the widest. You're kind of cutting across higher up on the mountain. Does that answer your question, Maz? Something quick thinking? Heck yeah, look, I fixed it. Boom. Now we don't have to screw around the position. Oh, we are going up. Okay, here, I'll show you with my hands. So, you know how the mountain gets wider as it goes down? At the bottom of the mountain, kind of at the base, there's like the proper caravan paths, right, where the land gets flat. So if you were going from one town to the other, you would have to come down the mountain. Wrong cam? No, not wrong cam. We're not rolling yet. Do not see hands. Oh no! Alright, you got me. Dang it. Boom. Boom. I should just psychically know what I'm doing. Thank you for that. Yeah, top of the mountain. It's a nice cone shape. The base, it's a longer path because you have to go around, but it's flatter, so it's good for things like wagons, right? Where you can't be on the uneven ground without risking them just tumbling down the mountain. Because you were a single traveler and somebody who's relatively comfortable in the mountains, I think you would be comfortable kind of going like further up on the mountain and kind of going around where it's more narrow. Right, so the easier, longer roads in the valleys, yes. Which you are free to try and go down and follow. but it will take more time. Don't feel like you're, just because I described something doesn't necessarily mean you're beholden to it. But since we have such a large chat, I'm trying to give people ideas. That way they feel comfortable jumping on. But if you've got an idea, let it rip. That's my favorite thing, is when players have like wild ideas. So yes, there is more than one path available to you if you so choose. And then back to the original. Since we're really close to home. Shortcut here still. Minor chasm or something. Yeah, I think that would be an argument to add your like town guard, right? You would be familiar with the surrounding landscape. Maybe you had to rescue a kid out from a chasm at some point. Some little baby fawn wasn't quite able to make the jump. I like that. And you can kind of see how these questions are used to develop your character too. So like, go nuts with your imagination. Leap that chasm, but you can't make a nat 20 because it's not an option. You're not rolling d20. Yeah. This is me giving you the leeway to help define like why your character knows this place. I really like what you guys are coming up with so far. Crit ones. True. True. Snake eyes, but they're good. Yeah, I do like the chasm idea. Do we want to roll? What stat are you thinking you want to roll? Back to make sure. Up. I think an argument could be made for pretty much any of the top three, like an agility, a strength, or a finesse. Yeah, bump the mic. Jumping would be either strength or agility. Yep. I mean, you do have a +2 strength if you want to do that. And then spend, well, we can roll, and then I'll give you the option to spend a hope if you want to add your town guard experience to it. Agility for the tricky passages. Yeah, I mean, we can actually do both. You've got, I'm going to give you 6 actions, essentially. So, like, 1 action per hour to try and get closer to Peakfall. On your bonus, I'll give you one or the other. It'll be a +2 either way. I was just going off what Mass had said about maybe being familiar with it because you're a town guard, so you would know some of the stuff closer by. Let's get jumping. All right. Are we using strength? I'm guessing we want to use strength. Boom, boom, boom. Alrighty. This will be a +2, and then we'll decide if we want to spend a hope to add another +2. That is a 13 with hope. So you do get a hope. Do you want to add one of your experiences to that? Yep. Immediately spend that hope and add. Good. Oh, bam. Hope down. That's good, because that puts you at exactly the DC you needed. So that was a success with hope. Set the DC for 15, so you would have failed if you hadn't spent it. Ouch. Gonna tick you down too. Yeah, that's gonna cut you down a good amount of time. Maybe it's one of those chasms where, like, there was a Mario Kart level where one of the dinosaur ones. I might be dating myself here. I think it was Double Dash. No, I think I'm thinking of a completely different game. But some racing levels will have where you have to like circuitously come down like a mountain because there's like gashes in it. I think the path would have normally led around this big chasm, but you're like, ah, I'm just gonna jump it. And you do successfully. Ready? Oh, it was. Keeping me honest, so yeah. Yeah, you passed. So you got 17 total on that. Yeah, you gotta yell at me quicker. 15 was enough. Anyways. Alright, that is your first obstacle cleared. You've made some decent time. You are now 8 units away from Peakfall. You've got about 5 more hours. We're starting to get a little further away from Selgren. As we start getting into the woods, I'll tell you what, do you guys want to exercise your creative muscles, or would you like to swap off? Because I know 6 is a lot to come up with. Do you want me to like give you a problem? Or do you want to come up with it yourself to help define this character? There's no wrong answer. Just trying to get an idea of what chat likes to do. Show me your wildest ideas. Otherwise, we can do something like as you start getting into the forest. That's an idea. Who's that? Oh, like a tricky passage? Yeah, are you talking about like you're kind of higher up on the mountains? I could see there being areas where maybe the footing is really unsure, right? Like maybe it's some rocks are kind of collapsing and you're not entirely it's not immediately obvious which ones are safe. You're playing the game from Squid Games where you can't tell on the glass. Is that what you were thinking, HS? I get the feeling that Dexuru is pretty sturdy, all things considered. I don't think they'd be too worried about a fall, but it would probably add time to their journey. Yeah, let's do that. You want to do an agility roll? Back to the dice game. Boom. Dice game time. Alright, and we add +1 this time. That looks pretty good. We got 16 on the dice with hope. Yep. Oh. That hope dice is working pretty good for you. You have a hope. Or I took one away. It's fine. Agility is a +1, I believe. Because it's how Daggerheart works when you're creating characters, for those who aren't aware. It's not like D&D where you roll for stats. It's more like D&D standard array. You essentially get a +2 that you can assign to any stat. You get 2 +1s, you get 2 zeros, and then you have to take a -1 on a stat. So yes, you are up to 17. The agility. Want to spend an do you want to spend a hope to add experience, or are you good with that? Do you want to take the roll? Is that a you want to spend hope, or you want to 17 seems fine? Yeah. 17 will do it. As you kind of start picking your way, you see a couple rocks start kicking loose and you stop and go, oh gosh, gotta be careful with that. I'm kind of getting the impression of Dexuru is like a search and rescuer now too. Maybe they've had to pull people off cliffs and stuff before. Yep. 17 you passed. Yeah, the ground shifts a little bit under your weight, but you're quick enough. Maybe like at the end the rock kind of slips and you use your jump to get up off it quick. Cool. So we tick down. You're now 2 hours into your travel. That was a success with hope. You're making good time. You're about 6 units undiscerned away. Got another 4 hours of daylight, where you should consider either making camp or pushing a little faster. What's something else we're encountering as we're on the way to Peakfall? So we meet a nervous animal that is a bit dangerous? Yeah, you're right off the bat with it. I like that. Flag is terrible. No, is that from my end? What is in the way? Jeff says, be right back. His lag is terrible. No way. Cool. So maybe like trying to think of a real world equivalent. You've got like black bears, which are not particularly aggressive, but they are still a bear. gotta be me. Faster? Maybe we could sit on the chainmail and slide down the mountains. I wondered when something like that was gonna be done. Like, I kind of... Nightbot's yelling at people. Shut up, Nightbot. When you guys were talking about taking a shield, I was like, oh man, a tower shield would be hilarious, and I would have absolutely allowed you to slide down a mountain in a tower shield. Alright, but the animal. Yeah, so do we think it's more like a black bear, or more like a grizzly bear, which might be, like, properly aggressive without you agitating it? Are you hoping to calm the animal? Are you hoping to distract it? Are you hoping to just run away from it? If you're wondering for lore reasons, there's all your sorts of like basic animals here. So they can shoo it away with a presence roll. Ooh, yeah. Dexuru, they're pretty big, and I imagine you took the bare bones feature, so you're pretty tough even without your armor on. I could see you being pretty like sturdy, maybe a little like sun touch, just somebody who looks like they can take a hit. All right, yeah, I'll allow that. That's a good one. Got what, a +1? Are you just trying to get through the +1s? You don't want to do a finesse roll? You don't want to try and juggle for him? Where's your sense of whimsy, chat? Back to the dice game. Got the box and you boom. Oh, that is a 13 with fear. Do we want to add an experience to that? Can you justify an experience? Yeah, 14 with fear. Is that up to you? Want to take that roll, or do you want to spend 1 hope to add 2? Yeah, I would say guard experience would apply. City guard is a great experience to take, because if it's an event that could like, how I'm gonna rule it is if it's an event that could have reasonably happened like right outside the town limits, yeah, that would make sense. You probably were the one who was sent to deal with it. Alright. Yes, no. Spending the hope to add 2. Let's, okay. Boom. Take away a hope. You get a little nervous as this animal starts sniffing at you. Let's go with a black bear. That makes sense to me. This big bear's kind of like coming up and sniffing you a little bit. Then you kind of flex at him, and he gets scared and he leaves. I do get a fear though. Here we go. I even got it to like pop up in a little pattern. I'm so proud of that. Switch back here. Alright, cool. So, pick that down. You spend an hour maybe being a little more cautious just because the bear is still around somewhere. Because it was with fear, I think that's what happens, is you don't make quite as much distance as you could have because you're maybe being a little more sneaky, a little more cautious to not have to deal with the bear. You know, now that you know, maybe you're keeping a watch out for cubs and all that fun stuff, it does slow you down a little, but you are still making progress. Alright, you've got about 3 more good solid hours to do things. I think we're starting to get kind of around the mountain. Maybe... I am so terrible at distance. I'm picturing that it's a good ways away, right? It's a decent walk. So you're kind of getting around the mountain, and then maybe there's another one sort of in the way. Oh no. It's fine. It left you alone. It didn't take a bite out of you or anything. I wouldn't be that mean, would I? Yeah. What do we think we're encountering next? I could see there being a stream coming down from the mountain, maybe. How does Dexuru feel about taking a swim? Give you some ideas. You guys have more ideas. I like it when you guys give me the stuff because it tells me about the character and what you think the character is. Makes it easier for later on down the line when I want to do more meaningful things. Tell me about your character. It's fine. You know there is a lift with like a mechanic thing you need to handle to go up and down. Drop skull, brisk mount. Absolutely. Yeah, sell me on this lift, Maz. So I will tell you, there is a slight element of steampunk in this game. You can thank my home game for that. They suggested that instead of like they had started in a caravan, and one of them asked, "Well, what animals are pulling the wagons?" I was like, "Ah, didn't think about it. What kind of animal do you think is pulling the wagon?" And they were like, "It'd be really cool if it was like a mechanical oxen kind of deal." I was like, "That would be cool," and that tells you a little something about the world too. So yeah, I mean there are some steampunky elements to it. Maybe part of the mining operation, an abandoned mining operation. Sometimes research teams come out, especially deeper in the mountains when there's a lot less of the miasma, trying to find better ways to get rid of the miasma. As is part of your history check earlier, you absolutely would know that the miasma has rendered large parts of this continent uninhabitable, and part of like the king's goal is to expand territory by reclaiming it from the miasma, essentially. So getting in, kind of like doing what they can to clear it out and make it safe for people to come settle. Fun. Little imperialism or something. All that goes straight down the mountain, just like a sheer cliff. You can walk, but it takes longer, but there's a small mine nearby, and they installed an elevator that goes straight down to save time. Yeah, I could see that. Maybe like between levels. Or they had a camp up higher up and they had dug down so deep. That is cool. I like that. And I did say there were mining operations in the area. Tell me, what stat do you think that makes sense for? I could see that being maybe a knowledge roll. Like maybe you would have known somebody had mentioned it, and then you kind of see something off in the distance. You go, "Oh yeah, that's what's his face mentioned that one time." Steampunk. That's a finesse roll or knowledge. You want to do a finesse roll? The negative one really isn't that bad, but yeah, I was thinking more to remember that it's there. Finesse to operate the elevator. Oh. I will leave it to your choice. I think we'll go with knowledge just because it's slightly better. Face cam. Face cam. Friends, that is a 10 with fear. Do we want to do anything to add to that roll? Or are we just gonna take it? Oh no. The official term for a roll with fear now, an oh no roll. Much about that. It's up to you if you want to try. If you don't think you're going to meet the DC with a +2, then yep, definitely hold on to the hope. That will be 1 of your hours used. Either way. You see the sun starting to set in the distance. Like it's definitely gone over the, what do they call it? Like the apex. And it's now on a downward movement. I don't know. I'm not a sun scientist. I guess we can't find it and you take the way around. Yeah, or fortunate. I think maybe you had thought it had gone down at one point, and maybe you get in the elevator and it takes you down, but then it breaks and you have to screw around with getting it to work again. It is going to add. You're going to have to recover some of that time now, so you're going from a 5 on the D10 back up to 6 because it added a bunch of time. Because yeah, that was not a great roll. So I think you have 2 hours left. Maybe I'm doing it off by 1 error because you've done 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be roll 5 and then 6. So I think you've got 2 more left. Unless I'm making an off by 1 error, but fire broker elevator. Can we go home? That's literally the whole conceit, though, is that you're trying to lay low for a bit. Picked off the mayor's son, or the mayor's son's just a jerk and I want to deal with him right now. Absolutely valid. Love that for Dexuru to go out and adventure. I assumed it was an abandoned elevator. Like those mining operations where it's just not cost effective to go retrieve all the equipment. For the last hour, I will say it's meant to represent you getting a little more tired. If you want, because you're lower on the die now, I will tell you if you want to continue, I'm gonna make you start marking stress to even do a roll. And once it gets darker, like it's gonna be at disadvantage. And that has less to do with it being dark and more with you having been mountain climbing all day. Take 1 hour set camp safely. I'll make you roll for it. That's minus d6 for advantage. Yes. So again, for those who aren't familiar with Dagger Heart, advantage is not roll twice and take the higher or the lower. It is you roll your 2 die, and then you can add a d6 to it. It does not add against your hope or fear. It doesn't affect that, but it can help you meet a DC. Disadvantage is you roll a d6 and take that away from your total. The hope and fear still works the same as if you hadn't had the d6, but it does change if you meet a DC or not sometimes. Any questions on advantage, disadvantage? Just being upfront so you know what your options are, right? I'm not going to say it's not Stardew Valley, you're not going to drop asleep immediately when the dice hits 1, 0. You will definitely get to Peakfall, like, by the next day, but it's up to you if you want to continue pushing. You're about halfway. Anyways. Do we? Assume you guys keep pushing for now, though. Should we go back to HS's waterway? I think that's a great one, too. We'll do the waterway. So, yep, after screwing around in this mine, you realize that the elevator half works, like it starts going down, and then you're like, oh, God. You have to go back up, like you gotta get it working again. It kind of ground to a halt. So it did add some time onto your journey. Push 1 more, get some more descriptions from Belgrin. Yeah. I check my spellings. So the guy who is upset with you, I think I might be saying it wrong. I think it's Thelin, like without a G and R. Thelgrin, like Celgran, is the town you are from. I will be sure to clarify that in any notes I put out. Just Thelin? I think so. Let me double check. I did abuse the heck out of my NPC generator. Thelum. Oh, it's with an M. Apologize. Thelum. Here, well, we will make sure that I will make sure that's how I pronounce it from now on, and that Selgren is the town. But your point stands anyways because Thelum is in Selgren. Is keeping notes. Ooh. Yeah, if you're happy to share those, or if you want to, I'm gonna go back and watch this and take notes just for my sake. But obviously, you guys are also welcome to take notes. Love that. All right, so the water. Come across a stream, which makes sense. A mountain. A lot of streams kind of start up in mountains. Maybe there's a nice spring up there somewhere. Yeah, I think you're just trying to get across it. Rocks are slippery. What kind of a roll do we think that would be? We've used enough different stats that I'm not gonna start giving you disadvantage for using the same one. You're being pretty creative with it. I usually only give people a hard time if they're not trying. You gotta be more creative than that. You can't just flex your way through everything with these guns. Gotta work on my arms. How am I supposed to threaten chat if I don't get wool? Yeah, we'll go with that. And for our stats, I'll give you your choice. Do you want finesse or agility? I see either one of those working. I will tell you up front that unless you can come up with a very convincing reason, you probably will not be able to apply your experiences. I think that would be a stretch if you're like trying to get over slippery rocks. That's not really a mountaineering thing. Let's do agility. Yeah. So I figured. Ooh, that is an 19 plus 20. That's a 20 with hope. Can't wait to go back and watch this and realize I forgot to like keep track of fear and hope 30 different times. To show you on your dice cam. I streamline this a bit too. Okay, we're learning. Yeah, you rolled pretty good on that. Since I can't really think of a good way your experiences would apply, I will tell you that is enough, but it's more than enough. Kind of like it's not even hard. Maybe you find some rocks that are poking up and like up above the water that aren't quite as slippery. Thinking that's enough. Yep, you would be right. Awesome. We're down to this last hour of like non-stressed travel, if that makes sense. That's with hope. Or yeah, you're definitely seeing the mountain the small mountain at this point. It's more of a plateau that Peakfall is on. Again, to kind of explain that town name, it's basically like there was a massive blast that leveled part of the mountain, so it's kind of flat now. It's sort of a soft plateau. You've got one side that's definitely more mountainous and kind of drops off. It's not it's very steep and not particularly easy to get up, but then you have all the like blasted part of the mountain that went down on the other side and kind of created this nice slope, and it's been easier for people to clear out. Like the mining operations have made a nice path up there. Definitely see like the leveled off mountain. How much is the die at? Yes, you are at 1 on your d6 for you essentially have one more action you can do without taking any negative repercussions. You are at 4 on the d10. So however you want to abstract that in your mind. I would say you're starting to get a little bit closer. Like, I feel like if you found another couple more shortcuts, you could probably get there. You might be pushing the tiredness a little bit, but I'll leave that up to you. You could definitely get close, I think, unless you really biff a roll, right? Like if something really knocks you off path. I'm guessing this is normally a several days journey over the roads. Sure. I'll let you in on a secret. I am horrible at like visualizing distances. Like the same thing with people's heights. I'm like, yeah, sure, that's a distance. I have an idea of how long I think it should take, which is why I abstracted it as more of a countdown. I'm not going to tell you you're right or wrong for thinking of how close. You probably have a better visual image of that than I do, but when we cut through. Like I said, I think definitely going down and around would be a couple days, probably. Especially because most people who take that route are moving as part of a larger group, which just tends to move slower to begin with. And you've got like animals and people who need to rest. But you as a single person are able to like jump over ravines and explore mines. No reason to push it. Let's find a place to sleep. Okay. Since you are still, if you want to now, because you're giving up that hour essentially, I'll give you advantage on whatever check you want to make. I'm gonna have you hopes a bear does not call it home. Yeah. So in setting up camp, I'll let you describe kind of how you want to set up camp. This is me giving you the option to like sway which kind of check you think it's going to be. There's no proper, not really a proper survival check as far as I can think of. So it'll be like, oh, I'm going to, what would be a good example? You tell me what you think you're doing to make your camp safer or to find a good place to camp, and then we'll decide what we should roll against. I think Instinct might be the closest. Like, you could definitely do instinct to be like, oh, I look around, see instinct or knowledge, one of the two. It's gonna be a +0 anyways. To look around and be like, well, it doesn't look like animals have been through here recently. Like, you could do something like that. Or what the weather will be. You're up in the mountain. Isn't there like an effect on mountains where it's really not too bad, like right on the mountain? Yeah, it's pretty mediocre weather today. You don't see any signs of rain. Translation: Tipped has not put together any way to track weather yet. Like a scarecrow out of the chainmail. Oh my gosh, I love that. Sleeping in a tree? Yeah, you could probably get up in a tree. Like, if you wanted to do the tree thing, I would have you kind of describe how you're securing yourself to the tree. That'll give me an idea what to set the DC as. The scarecrow. That's a creative idea. Yeah, I mean, since you're, what do I want to say? You've already got advantage, or I'd give you advantage if you wanted to do both of those, but do you want to sleep up in the tree first? Yes or no? Or let's do this in what makes sense as an order. Do you want to make a scarecrow? What are you stuffing the chainmail with? You do have some rope. I'm sure you could find leaves and stuff. You are in kind of a forested area. There's definitely dirt and rocks around. HS, yeah. This is why I like giving players the opportunity to come up with ideas, because there's always something that makes me go, I love that. Or pack. True. Let's see. Well, your pack would have had the chainmail in it, but you're probably gonna take like your bedroll and stuff out, I imagine. Ropes and sticks. Definitely. Okay. What kind of a roll do we think that would be? Oh man, do we think it would be a finesse to see if you can get it like tied up right? Are you putting a lot of work into it, you think? Sadly, yes. Thank you for being honest. Maybe finesse, yes. Alright, let's do this to see if you can get it tied up. Sorry. Did I turn the dice cam on? No, I didn't. There you go. Not great. You got a 10 on your fear die. You got a 3 on your hope die. That'll be -1 for your finesse, I believe. Want to try and add anything to it? Or are you just gonna take that roll? Have advantage. Yeah, you did, didn't you? Okay. Oh, yeah, that's a creative idea. Whoops. That was a 3, don't get excited. Okay, so yeah, +5, so you've got 18 down to 17. Okay, so you're at 17. Fear. Yes, with fear, which means I get a fear. Cool. Yes, no? Do you want to take it? Decent. I would say what probably happened was you were trying to tie it up and you're like, oh gosh, I'm so bad at like fumbling with knots. And then I think you take it down again and try again. And then yes, you do. You get it hung up in a convincing enough way. Like, with it being dark soon, you can see as the darkness starts closing in that, yeah, people probably aren't gonna. It would be enough if you're trying to defend from like animals that it would definitely dissuade them. Alright, do we also want to do the tree? I assume we're sleeping in the tree. Might not be the best scarecrow, but I like it. Yeah, I thought about only allowing the advantage for one of those things you were doing, but it's a creative idea. We love creativity. The ropes and no. I mean, you still could try and find a spot, like a forked branch. I look scary in the dark too. Me too. My skin like glows in the dark. Trying to get this light, I've got a little like daylight lamp up here, and you can see if I turn it too bright, I just like see me just mess up the camera because it reflects. Yeah, let's do it. Okay. So we're gonna try and find a safe place in the tree. Uh, Remind me, what is distinct? Double check your character sheet here because I know it's on there. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Alright. Instinct would be perceive, sense, navigate. Knowledge would be recall, analyze, comprehend. I'll allow you to use either of them. I think they're going to be the same for you. And evergreen snuggle under the lowest branches next to the trunk. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to do a... I don't know. You can decide if it's a perception, a perceive, instinct, or a knowledge roll. They're both going to have the same mechanical benefit. We'll see if you can find a branch. Oh my god, I keep forgetting to turn on the dice cam. I just gotta yell at me. You really should just yell at me. See? There's something I'm forgetting. That is a 9 with fear, and then advantage. Gosh dang it. You rolled good on advantage. That brings you up to 15. More fear, but 15. Yep. Hear me from here? What do you mean I can't hear you? Oh. Yell at me? I'll just assume that you're screaming. Like you're screaming at the screen. Mountaineer here? Yeah, sell me on it. I think it would be a case of you, like, being used to camping. I feel like camping is a little bit different than Mountaineer. But if you can come up with a clever way to tie it, I'll allow it. I need to put like a note next to the dice cam that says switch to the dice cam before you roll. Wait, my brain. We slept in mounts before for sure. Okay, I'll allow it. Do you want to spend the hope? Here's do quite some climbing. Fair, that would be a good justification. Okay, I'll allow it. You want to spend the hope? Sounds like you're gonna add +2 to the roll. Cool. Yeah, so I'll say you definitely find something. The fear element we'll say is maybe I think maybe you try to find one to start and you just like the one of the branches collapses and you're like, oh, that would have been a bad idea. And you go and you find a nice evergreen. Evergreens grow on mountains. Somebody who's more of a mountain doctor than I am might know. You do find a suitable place. It's not particularly high off the ground, but it does get you like away from the creepy crawlies, which is the reason I don't like camping. Changed? I mean, I did set it as a couple different things, but if you hit it, you hit it, you know? I think I'm too nice with DC. Alright, so we're setting up for the night. So, I know we're early on in the campaign, we haven't really established a lot of what your character's goals are quite yet. But part of downtime, part of like taking a long rest is you can start working on long-term projects. I don't know if you guys have anything in mind that you might want to start working on. But that's one of those things, like if you put forth the idea, I'll probably set up some sort of table for roles and you can continue to work on it over time. Daggerheart actually encourages that. It's pretty cool. Also, I think I've got my list here actually of downtime activities. Yes. $2 vellum. I mean, heck, that wouldn't even take very long. You could totally make one out of like. Do we think that Dexuru has those sort of? I think it's pagan. It's not pagan. What is voodoo from? I'm thinking we don't quite like lethal use of weapons. That's a character trait you decide on. Makes sense. You're probably more trained in like detaining people or for the trek into town. So Jeff, I'm guessing you're hoping to do a prepare. I don't think we would be that petty slash vengeful using a bladed weapon. Okay. Yeah. You also have a shield that I think technically deals damage. You can shield bash people. I've got that on your overlay. I like that the shields get damage. I've totally tried to shield bash people in other games. Think about ways to knock somebody out without killing them. Yeah, is there something in particular you're I find it easier for these long-term projects to kind of talk about what you're trying to do in either a narrative aspect or in a mechanical aspect. So it sounds like you're looking for something that would give you a benefit mechanically, like might do damage without risking killing people. Is there a reason you think Dexuru would be like that? Maybe after chasing the bear, he was like, well, I don't really want to kill every animal I come across. Killed folks with a crit shield attack. Nice. I got to play a game of Monster of the Week a while back, and I played a class called Mediocre, which is basically just some guy. So I played a middle-aged accountant, and his weapons were nunchucks, and I killed the final boss with a nunchuck hit. Beautiful. Maybe it plays into why he became a guard. Ooh, I like what you're thinking there. Are we hinting at maybe a regret in Dexuru's past? I'm well, I will definitely make a note of that, and that's something we can explore more. I prefer not to roll for the personality because I feel like who Dexuru is defines the kind of people to hang out with. Jeff says Furbolg. We can go with Furbolg. Add him to my notes. To Peakfall. We have Furbolg. Furbolg. Friend. Any gender? Do you want to roll for it? Yep. Bears come guard. That must be a pretty good one. Roll it. We're rolling for gender. Or gender nonconformity. Boom. We got 85, which I think is it's gonna be right on the edge actually. Oh. Wrote that wrong. Right at the tippy top of female. A femme friend. I will also say, because it's Pride Month, so we gotta be inclusive. Just because I say gender, male, female, that I picture it as how they're presenting. You can decide for yourself if that matches anything they were assigned at birth or whatever. I think it only really matters like pronoun wise personally and how they present. Alright. Female Furbolg. Former city guard, you think? Children? Probably left for better pay. In work environment, that's too real. Love that. Sandra? Oh yes, that was gonna be my next question. I think you just like coming up with nicknames, Maz. Pick Maz instead, that's not name. Yeah, Cassie. Okay. So we'll walk into the guard tower. Somebody had mentioned the mine. They would probably work pretty close together, just to kind of help keep people safe. Yeah, so I think out of instinct, Dexuru goes to the guard tower, just like, this is an environment I'm familiar with. Maybe I can find a friend who, like, knows where people who need help. Fair enough, they walk in. And off chatting in the corner, they see a large furbog they recognize as their childhood friend Cassie. Will you call out to her, or do you try to talk to somebody else first? I assume if you see your friend, you're going to be like, oh my god, it's Cassie. Hot bar? Yeah, I mean, I would assume in this kind of like medieval setting, there's just alcohol around in the guardhouse. Who are off duty. For whatever reason, she is in the guardhouse. So I think she would be very excited to see you. How many years do you think it's been since you've seen this friend? You just a couple? I'm sure you would catch up with her every time you were in town. So yeah, Cassie will see you walk in and go, oh my god, is that Dex? Like, just very excited, like, happy to see you. OMG, they just let anyone in. How often do we come here? Long if you're here for training? Yeah. I mean, if your friend's there, that would also just be an excuse to go visit. Like 8 months or something. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. It's a pretty long hike, but definitely something you can make like once a year. 2 days hike for us, so. Yeah, maybe. 8 months, I think, would fit in that. OMG, they just let anyone in. Cassie's gonna like laugh and go, oh my god, right? I heard they let in this fawn who like is questionable at doing guard stuff. She's gonna poke fun at you. You react at she's gonna make fun of you for incident. What would be a fun incident? Like if you guys were training together, because you would have worked together probably for a bit before she left. My god, they just let in this guard who like falls in ravines and gets lost in mine shafts. They aren't leaving me in anymore. You mean to kind of hint that maybe you're not working as a guard anymore? She would know you well enough that if that's what you mean, she will pick up on that. Yeah. Kind of furrows her brow, like, what do you mean by that? Everything alright? Mace? Yeah! Oh, that's real. Yeah. I think she would think you're joking at first and go, what, did you smack yourself with your mace one too many times? And maybe her expression would kind of fall as you're looking for the words. You remember Thelem? She kind of wrinkled her nose like, yeah, that guy's always kind of a creep. I never really liked him. Ugh. Tell me he's not in charge now, is he? Did the mayor give him key to the city or whatever? However you think they would pass down that leadership role. Ugh. Man couldn't. He one of the most useless people I've ever met. He's in the captain, but second in command. They put him in the guards? She's gonna find that really offensive. Somehow that's worse to her than him becoming mayor. You're joking. What did Zara say? I assume you guys are gonna gossip a little bit about it. Zeris, you would know, probably wasn't thrilled, but again is kind of reticent about the shaking the boat sounds wrong. Rocking the boat. That's the term I was looking for. He's very reticent to like rock the boat and cause problems, anything that would like essentially be something he would have to deal with. So he would have just like rolled his eyes and allowed it. I think Cassie would be like, oh my god, that is so like Zeris. You know, he's such a smart guy, but he needs to learn to tell people to like go jump off a cliff. So what are you doing now? Are you gonna are you are you leaving town? Is that why you're here? Tell me you're just gonna run away. I think by this point too. Throwing dice, I'm sorry. I think by this point she would have kind of guided you over to the cop bar. Maybe there's a couple of folks kind of enjoying their time off duty. The night shift is having a fun time playing cards. They'll kind of like wave you over and take a table, maybe steal a bottle of something from behind the counter. Captain suggested I better make myself scarce for a while. She'll roll her eyes. Yeah, that's probably easier than having to actually deal with a problem. Well, you're welcome. You know, you can stay at my place if you want, or I've heard the inn's got some good spots. Philem is sick of playing guard. She just kind of laughs. Maybe his dad will finally die and he'll have to take over the leadership of the town. Not that that's better. Huh. Maybe he'll get eaten by a bear. Is that too much to hope? And of course not. I sauntered with my antlers held high. Fawns have antlers. Well, I've seen it as like horns. I know what you mean though. Run, of course not. I sauntered with my antlers held high. So, laugh. As always. She will offer you a place to stay if you're so inclined. You would also know that there's a very suitable inn in town. I have like ram horns. Yeah, that's what I've figured. Don't say horns like you're not the one that just said antlers. Yeah. She'll ask you a little bit more about like what you're planning, kind of in that way that the overexcited friend, whenever you go through like something rough, they just ask you a billion questions that aren't particularly helpful, like, oh my god, what are you gonna do? Oh my gosh, are you like going to leave town? Are you gonna go back? Are you like, she's just gonna keep going until you start giving her answers? Are you gonna tell her maybe what are your thoughts? Well, it depends a bit on what is going on here. Oh, are you looking for work? Oh gosh, I don't think we've got any spots in the guard quite yet, but I'm sure we could find you something. Some of the mining folks will hire people just willy-nilly. Every now and again you get a miner who runs off and it's such a pain. If they're lucky, they make it back to town. If they don't, we gotta go fight bears. Anyways, that's just me complaining about work. Spawn, think dear. Yeah, I kind of do too, but we're weighing our options. Options to consider. Yes. Or avoid joining the guard anyways, because neutral training was up in a few months. She'll wrinkle her nose and go, oh gosh, Stellan's gonna be there, isn't he? Maybe I can break his ankle. Do you think anybody would notice if I just like drop my shield on his foot? Yeah. But in response to your common HS, she will say the mining folks are always looking for help. Some of the local merchants might hire for odd jobs, looking for like folks to help lift and things. So I thought I'd warn you about it beforehand. Bounty on the miner. Bounties on the miners who have abandoned work. She's gonna kind of shrug. And not on them entirely. I think sometimes they do if equipment goes missing. Which, they've been reporting that there is some that's gone missing. Something about the stuff they're pulling out of the ground. Some of that's gone missing, but I don't know that they've found who's doing it. My bet's it's on one of the guys already in the mine, like in the camp. But we can't arrest anybody if we can't find them. Should also mention there are a couple farms, like further back. How would it? Kind of below, I think. So the mountain, when it blew up, would have covered a good chunk of the land, but kind of off to the side of those slopes, like past where the mining is, there would be a couple farms. And she'll mention that. She'll be like, sometimes they're looking for help too. You know, people to help repair fences and keep track of animals, keep the sheep from running amok. I've had a couple farmers come in recently too. They say like an animal that's coming after their cows. We haven't found anything. Maybe some foot tracks, some footprints in the woods. I'm sure it's a bear or something. We tell them you need to have fences that are of a certain quality, but they don't listen, and then they come and they complain. Try to look back into the missing equipment. It might be easier to get some info when I'm not a guard. But, oh yeah, I'm sure somebody like you, they would love to hire a little extra muscle. Or she's gonna like flex at you like just like old times, right? Yeah. Above table. She would have told you you've got a couple options for work. Mining operations, there's farms that are looking for help, like repairing fences that have been smashed lately, and like possibly looking for a missing cow or two. What else did I say? There was a third one I said. Oh yeah, merchants. Merchants looking for help. Just grin and not flex yourself. Laugh. She's like, yeah, you got to show off those muscles a little bit. They really like the brawn over brains types, if you know what I mean. They're looking at missing equipment. Might be sure if you want to go down there. One of the foremans, go to the foreman of the West camp. He's a little less of a jerk than the one of the East camp, and you would know as you walked in. There would have been like two visible camps on either side, each kind of like picking apart. They would have there would be kind of a trail up through the middle of it, up through the middle of that slope, and then you've got camps on either side that are slowly working on expanding that trail and kind of picking apart rocks and all that fun stuff. It will also give you her address for if you need somewhere to sleep. Yeah, that was that was my next question. You and I were thinking the same thing, Mez. Um, yeah, she will offer you a place to stay. You're also free to go to the inn or see if you can do some work in exchange for bedding. She definitely would not let you sleep out in the woods unless you wanted to. Which that's also an option. You can always go camping too. I don't know that tree. You make more use of the scarecrow. That scarecrow idea was so good. What? I'm also imagining you like plonked your shield on top of it as a head. And can't have a conversations. She would kind of shrug and be like, "Yeah, sometimes for work. I mean, they've got a barracks essentially, like tents and such. Yeah. You know, we tried to send a guard to walk through at least once a night, so it should be relatively safe. Stay at her place when we were here, but we may also be wandering across. Yeah, of course. She's your best friend since childhood. She's giving you a place that is known to be safe to sleep. We do crash for one night. I assume above table. I would assume you told her about needing to be away from Salgren for a while and maybe not being entirely sure about what you're gonna do. She will definitely offer up a spot for you to stay as long as you need. Like friends do. Is there anything else you would like to talk with your friend about? Even just for like pure roleplay purposes, if there's things you want to flesh out about your character. A childhood best friend is a good sounding board for that. Else, you're free to go out and wander the town. She's giving you her address, so you've got somewhere you can, if you want to drop your gear off. It's not really encumbering you in any way for now, but you're free to do so. It is relatively early in the day still. You would have made it to Peakfall by noon. I would say like probably that 10 o'clock a.m. area because you would have gotten up probably as soon as it was dawn. She's giving you a couple leads on jobs. Basically up to you. Or if you want to say, screw all that, we're gonna go speed run the final boss. Don't do that, please. Go outside and I challenge the god of this world. Can we ask her if anything is new since the last time we were there? Yeah, of course. What would be new since you were there? Would there have been major changes? Oh, she would tell you. She would tell you, yeah, oh yeah, you know, the Scholars Guild is starting to get kind of big. You know, it went from just good character name. Flush that out later. Went from Jimbo the Wizard to they've got like a whole group there now. They're doing some research on the minerals and stuff the miners are finding. I guess there's some important stuff out there. They're testing it out for armor, maybe? That one of the guys who came in is doing? At least to I will give you a little bit of a lore drop. Part of the way that the miasma is cleared out is basically pylons, is how I visualize them in my mind, but they're made out of certain minerals that have been refined in a very particular way to like help suck the miasma from the air and like bind to it. So there would absolutely be one from Jimbo the Jimothy. Jimothy the Wizard, okay. Yeah, but it would be very much like a magic focused scholars guild, people who come in and study. They're looking for ways to essentially get the miasma out faster. I think you would have heard rumors of like outpost teams who are usually the first responders when they're trying to do expand territory. They go in first and they set up camps and they help get the immediate area under control to make it safe for people to camp in, and then it builds into like a proper town from that. So yeah, that's your lore drop. She would tell you that they're definitely bringing in more people. They're really interested in these mountains. You know, there's all the materials that can be found here, and I think they're trying to find some deeper in the mountains too, which would make sense. Your town would have been very spared from the miasma just due to elevation and being within the mountains. The minerals that are found in the mountains actively provide protection. So there is that going on. Not much beyond the mining operations. I feel like they're getting rowdier lately. Like I said, stuff keeps getting stolen, and it's not really our job to deal with. They just keep coming and complaining to us anyways. It's like, you guys, we've got real work to do. Huh, do they need guards or guides and stuff? Because we are a mountaineer. Kind of tilts her head. I mean, it might not hurt to ask them. I'm sure there's something they could put you to use for. I think they just got back from a big expedition, so it might be some time. You have to wait for approval. Last time I talked to Jimothy, said they were waiting for approval from the king for something or other. Ugh, who knows? You know how long that takes. You would be familiar with kingdom bureaucracy a little bit. You know how long it takes to get a requisition form fulfilled? Quick, guys, let's flush out the bureaucracy of this kingdom. That's what the rest of this session is. I'll quest first. No, that's not the hint there. I love that you guys are so ready for plot hooks. Sure, there will be something fun for you there eventually. But yeah, let me know if you want to recap of the stuff she told you. I know it can be me anyways. Sometimes I'm the one talking and I forget what I said. You're also free to just kind of wander around town a bit if you want. Take that first day. You have a place to sleep. Not going to charge you anything. You will notice that she's not drinking because she is about to go on duty. I think I'll go explore my pillow. See you in the VOD. Thanks for dropping in, HS. Thank you for that scarecrow. I think we just have a look around town. Cool, excellent. Are we looking for anything in particular? There's some merchants you can stop in and visit. You have a little bit of gold. You have a handful. Did I write down for what's going on around? Oh dang. Nothing at all. Very boring town. You'll see there's blacksmiths, there's Fletchers, there's a couple boutique stores that you definitely don't get back in Selgren just due to size. You're going to see a lot of ancestries that probably aren't quite as common because it's sort of a travel hub. I don't think Dexuru is the type to sit and stare at people, but it would be a little unusual for you. You'd be more used to seeing like fauns and dwarves and furbolgs. I think we first have a look at the expanded Scholars Guilds. That must be a bit bigger building now, and then have a look at the merchant stuff. Sure. Go explore the Scholars Guild if you want. Trot on down. You will see it's still not like a huge building by any means. It's definitely cozy. Are you gonna just invite yourself in? Surely it's fine. I'll see outside the door there's a guard who is clad in a slightly different uniform. It's nothing that you're familiar with seeing here. You want to see if you recognize it? Come on, guys, make some rolls. It's fine. I think you would. I won't make you roll for that. I think you would recognize that it's generally associated with like the capital, the Orenthal capital. Makes sense if they've got scholars coming in from the capital. They probably sent some sort of guard. Somebody like the Central Scholars Guild would have paid for that. Should we see what? Ooh, I'm gonna do a random NPC roll because that's fun for me. Let's see. They are good on the test. Loud. It is a 51. Another woman. Nice fall. Trying to be nice and not like desk as much. Got a female. 6. Common category. City block, because they would be from the city, so that's their a little different then. 8. Common city folk. 2. An elf. We got an elf. So many tabs. Amazed anything. Female elf. Guard signed. The Scholars Guild. From the city. Do the fun one. Should we roll some traits? Because I assume you're going to try and talk to them. And just how happy they are. For those who aren't in the know, I've been working on traits for the NPC generator, and I found a list of like 600 and some different personality adjectives. So I have like 600 different traits I can roll. I have eliminated some because they're really dumb, or there's a couple, like I found one earlier that was driving. Like I feel like driven makes sense. Driving doesn't. I don't like driving. But I roll a d6 plus a percentile dice to see what I get. 684. Like battleship. I usually roll 3 traits. Just ooh. I can tell you what I roll though. Because where's the fun in that? You guys... This is going to determine whatever you want to say to her, how difficult it's gonna be. This is fun. I give you guys the having that large amount of traits, though, it's pretty rare I get some that are directly conflicting. Oh. Cool. Sorry, I was talking down. Oh, this looks a lot busier. You want to go say hi and just chit chat him? Yeah, it's because I was looking down and mumbling. Apologies. Is that better? Yeah, you'll see there's this female elf, very, like, astute. She's definitely on alert, head on a swivel. About mid-morning, how busy would it be? Part of town. They're a little more on the edge of town. As I've said before, there's some distrust of magic, and the Scholars Guild tends to be very, like, actively working with magic. Sure, it's to counteract the existing, like, miasma, but there's always the risk of wild magic generating more. So people kind of treat them. It's got kind of that vibe of, like, in the real world, nuclear power, right? Nuclear power has its benefits and is probably safer than people give it credit for, but people still have this, like, fear of it. That's kind of people's impression of magic, especially after the war. Very. So they'd be more on the edge of town. In fact, I wonder if they would have their own encampment. I think they would have reluctantly been allowed into town. There was definitely somebody sympathetic in a position of power, or maybe a bully who pushed for them to be in town. Yeah, the guard's there. Looks relatively no nonsense, but not mean. Hope that she starts giving off light. Retract. Not sure I get the joke. Brain might just not be working. Yeah, do you go up and talk to her? She would kind of look at you like, who are you? Turn up the Riz. Oh, a joke about people working with nuclear power. Yeah, you mean like she starts to glow? You make that joke and she's like, what are you talking about? I don't know what that is. But yeah, there would be that same kind of, like, distrust. Say. As soon as you go up and talk to her, she's gonna be like, can I help you with something? And just look you up and down. The impression maybe she's thinking you're a tourist. Especially since you said it's busier than the last time I was here. You're giving big tourist vibes. Those people who go to New York and are, like, looking up at the signs and stuff, immediately tourist. Is there anything specific you want to ask her about? You gonna tell her that you just got into town, or are you gonna stare at her awkwardly? You can do that if you think Dexuru is the sort to just sit and stare at people. I don't know if that would count as turning up the Riz. Gosh, we've been running for a while. Oh. You're not gonna stand and stare? Where's your sense of whimsy? More aware of what screen I pulled up. That's what she's hanging out with the town guard. You ask, like, oh, are you familiar with the town guard here? And she's gonna be like, oh, I'm not part of the guard. You're looking for the guard post, and she'll point you back the direction you came. I, from her tone, it's polite, but also like, oh god, I have to answer this so many times a day. You very much somebody who has had to say, I don't work here. And she's trying to be polite. No, I mean, do you know them? She's gonna be like, well, I mean, know them in a professional capacity. Is there something you're looking for? I'm sure they can help you with whatever problem you have. Goes back to looking around. Appropriately, Windows has cycled into a mountain. Look at that. See? I've been just staring at this. Yeah, she did. I mean, she's going to give you a very professional answer unless you're asking her something specific. Just like if you've ever encountered. Have you ever seen, at least in the US, when you go to certain stores, sometimes vendors specifically stock their product in like Walmart to Targets or whatever. And she has the impression of somebody who is like one of those vendors. They don't work for the Walmart or whatever, but people keep coming up and asking them questions. Yeah, I was just curious because my friend said this had become a lot busier since I was last in town. She would shrug and be like, yeah, the Scholars Guild's mission never ends. They're always working on something new. You'd have to ask one of the eggheads about it. You also. You roll a instinct. What I'm thinking of. Double check something. Yeah, instinct. I'm roll it. I'm making instinct here. Dice game. Open fear. Ooh. Look at that. That's a crit. So on a crit, I believe you can get a hope. You can mark a stress, like you can get rid of the stress. But it's been kind of a city day, so you haven't done a lot. I will give you the hope though. Getting stacked up on hope. Boom. Get hope and clear stress. Yep, you're good on stress. You don't have any yet. You will definitely catch up that she is very like aware of you asking her questions. And with the crit, I will tell you, it is because she's probably seen people attempt to get information about like people who are working on this sort of thing and tried to hurt them. Like she's very suspicious of you and thinking that you might be somebody trying to figure out like more about the Scholars Guild so you can potentially do harm to the people involved because again with the magic is distrusted there are people who are very very anti-magic. So I hinted that we know people in the guard. Yeah, she I'll say with the crit, we'll retcon it a bit and be like, oh we'll say that you gave a name. Oh, my friend Cassie, and you'll see her, like that suspicion immediately kind of like falls back a little bit. She'll be like, oh yeah, I know Cassie. She's great to work with. Did she send you here for something? And you would know that you would see her kind of like relax a little bit, and you get the feeling that maybe you've got a little bit of an in now. Like she's not just dismissing you as a tourist or somebody who is potentially here to hurt the people she's in charge of protecting. Crits are fun in Daggerheart because you never know if it's crit until you see that second die. So you can definitely make more leeway now. You're gonna go back and ask her more about what's going on. What's up? tomorrow time. Kind of suspected we were going to start stacking up on like hope and fear and stuff just because there probably wasn't going to be a lot of combat. Too late, you can start a fist fight in the town. We can just say that we asked what was new in town. She said this bit got a lot. Can have a look. Why did they choose to expand here? And she would kind of, I think she would answer that. Yeah, she would kind of gesture like, you know, there's all the free material here, I guess. You know, I'm no scientist, but I can see it. They use a lot of the material that comes from the mountain that's been blown apart here. Sure. Are you from here? I assume you would nod. Are you from this area? I assume you would kind of nod, and she'd be like, yeah. So then you know that there's a lot of very useful materials here. There's a vested interest in getting deeper into the mountains and making use of it. Gotta reclaim the land somehow. Definitely there for the mountains above table. That would track with a lot of the news you've heard. I think at this point, maybe one of the. That's not a big building. And the door's gonna open, and you're gonna briefly see inside, and you'll see that it's like very crowded. Kind of like there's been a lot of people at work. There's papers and stuff pinned to the wall and all that fun stuff. You'll see the door crack open, and we're gonna roll for him. This is gonna be Jimothy, so we'll say a male something or other. 9. What got 39? So he's from the city. He's a common. He's not common. They're all special in their own way. He is a dwarf. Interesting. A dwarf from the city. He's gonna open the door. You see him peek out. What's a good elf name? He's gonna call the guard's name and be like, Samantha, here, is that our delivery? No, Jimothy, it's a friend of one of the guards. Oh, are they bringing us our materials for today? No, Jimothy, the foreman told you it was gonna be a while. They had some problems with it. Timothy's gonna kind of open the door and be like, oh, what? And kind of look at you like, can we help you with something? You're friends with one of the guards? Have we met Jimothy before? Probably not. I don't think you would have had a ton of reason to come down and talk to these guys, especially with the general attitude of them being like from the capital. There's kind of that like people giving them a wide berth because of the work they do and them being like nerds. Friggin' Jimothy. You named him, Jeff. Jimothy is your fault. And now Jimothy's poking his head off the door asking what you're up to. Are you gonna tell him that you're looking around town, looking for work? Gonna run away from him? Let's officially add Jimothy to the notes. Hildor. Jimothy. Is lead researcher. I don't know if that was part of your conversation with Kat, but he will be the lead researcher. Scholars build. Scholars guild. Scholars build would be funny. Just jacked wizard. What do you say to Jimothy? He's kind of asks if you're looking for someone for something, or if the guards sent you here. He'll continue. He'll say, "They send you here to check on our delivery because we haven't gotten it yet. And I've been telling that foreman that, it is essential that we're not delayed in our work. And he's just gonna keep going on and on, just kind of complaining. I mean, you just gotta suggest it faster than everybody else. I generally like to get a consensus, but I know that's not always possible, especially we're kind of tailing into later, like it's getting to be bedtime for a lot of the Americans I'm at. Sure, I don't really want to. You don't have to. You could totally be like, no, I'm not, dismiss yourself from Jimothy. Heading out to check on work. No, bye nerd. Like, yeah, if you're gonna try and leave, like, the guard would totally catch on to that. I think she would be aware enough to kind of know Jimothy likes to yap and, like, step in and distract him so you can leave. She'll just kind of nod along. Yes, Jimothy, I know, it's very frustrating. Yes, there's not much we can do about it. You're like, I'm sure there's plenty of other things you can do in the meantime. Like, just reassuring him so he stops whining at you. There are other places in town you want to check out. Want to check them out. At her and thanks and Vale. Just gonna give her the speed walk away. Jimothy doesn't even register that you've left. You can see the guard roll her eyes as he continues yammering. Alright. Where to in town? Is there anything you're interested in finding? Like, I know above table it's like plot hook fishing, but there's a certain part of town or certain types of people you would like to meet, feel free to say so and I can guide you there. Or if you want more description of what's around town, again, there's a lot of shops and houses. You'll see all sorts of people wandering around. Always the inn slash bar, an attached bar. I just always assume there's a bar at the inn. Outside of the city, as you were walking up, you would have seen the farms and the mining operations, and there would have been a couple of houses just like close to the farms. Merchants that we know. I think you would be aware of the blacksmith. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, I get the impression that if you went to a bigger town, you would probably get like finer armor and stuff from a larger blacksmith, or some sort of material. You'd know the smith. Do you want to go talk to the smith? Should we roll him up too? Them up, I guess. Merchant shipment guard work. Yeah, there's that too. Start with the smith. This. A lot of these I just wrote down like, yes, there is one of them in town, and if we go talk to them, then we'll roll them up. Ender, boom. 79. Got a female smith. Fish if he knows anything about the missing equipment to see replacements. Fair. Smith I rolled is female. I feel like I roll female a lot too. It's kind of cool. It makes me think outside the box on some of the default characters I think of. Uncommon. From the forest area. We'll roll 6. We might get something interesting, I swear to God. If we... Dracona! That's funny because I rolled 2 smiths in my home campaign and they were both Dracona and they were all like uncommon. Off to the smith. So you have a female Dracona smith. I get the feeling that Draconas are just good at smithing in this world. Let's add the smith. Dracona. We're gonna roll some character traits here too to see how this conversation goes. It's funny. Is this a harem campaign? What? Because there's women? How dare you, ass? Math gets disadvantage. No, I know a lot of it is like my internalized biases. Breathe fire. Yeah, I mean it would make sense. I think do Draconas have a resistance to fire? Bernies might. All women. It's not all women. You met Jimothy. Okay, character traits. How dare you? You put some respect on Jimothy's name. Okay, here we go. Boom. Ooh. Yes, I do use these character traits to set. Ooh. Sometimes I roll really fun ones, and it definitely affects the interaction. Today. You guys will like this. Alright. If boop, stop spamming. Bring on the ladies. I stand corrected. What do you mean? Yeah. Jimothy. Jimothy is all the male representation you're getting for this campaign, because even Dex is non-binary. Alright. So, you will know from previous experiences that Smith, or at least the gal who ran it, is a Dracona who is kind of moody. Moody and like likes to argue with you on every little point than your experience in the past. Her work is good, but oh man, she's kind of rough to deal with. Don't me. So yeah, I mean, if you still want to go talk to her, does she look really busy? I'll roll. Let's roll a d20 to see how busy she is, with 20 being higher. Ooh. There's quite a few people in now. You can see there's somebody in there talking to her, and she's actively working on something. Oh, how would you describe what smiths do? I always picture the like slamming things on anvils and the sparks are like flying. And you can see she's kind of arguing with this person. Like, as you get closer, you can hear the person at the counter complaining, like, it's been a week past when you said you would have it. And the smith is going to argue back at her, like, I've told you there's been delays. Some of the material is just not working. I've got all this not great material to work with. Free to go make it yourself. Like, just real people who, like, are used to owning their own small business and just get really. Maybe that's my experience. Like, they have the filter of somebody who owns, like, a blue collar small business. There's somebody who, like, knows their stuff, but also is not going to take any crap from you. Temper stuff, yeah, that's it. Yeah, she was definitely arguing with somebody, but be to stop in if you'd like. Seem to be arguing over time it's taking to get certain orders. Just going back and forth. Storming out, so we head in. Yeah, it's actually I was about to roll again to see if there's how long that person's gonna sit there, but they're not gonna stay there long. I feel like she maybe curses them out a little bit, and the client gets kind of offended and walks off. You'll see the smith roll her eyes, like, oh, they'll be back. They'll be back, she mutters to herself. She continues working on. Oh, what would she be working on? I'm sure some piece of armor. Arguing with you, how could she be working on it? Do you say that? Know her name. And in a second. We do. Trying to think of the other Draconis. Isig. Hopefully that's nothing offensive. I like to Google names usually, like when I make up fantasy names, because I'm always worried it's gonna be something offensive. But yes, Isig. The client's gonna go like super pearl clutchy, be like, oh, I never. The people of this town have really become so rude, and she's gonna stomp off. So you walk in, or are you gonna say exactly that? Maybe a little friendlier. Usually, social stats are always so much fun to roll. I've played paladins who like will either roll nat 20s or nat 1s and nothing in between. Go to strength. I think that's presence roll. Go presence roll. She is definitely not in a happy mood. Nice, Cam. We'll go with what you said. As I don't want you to think I'm going to undermine what you're saying, but we're going more about how she responds to you. Oh no. Say 15 plus 1 with fear. Which isn't bad. Actually, I mean, the fear sucks, but the roll itself wasn't too terrible. Yeah. Hi, Hizig. Hope you're doing well. Kind of glares. You can tell there's still a little bit of that, like, energy hanging on. Like, you can see she still. Have you ever, like, argued with somebody and for the next, like, hour afterwards you're ready to just, like, pick a fight with everybody you see? She's definitely in kind of that mood, but she doesn't, like, yell at you. You can see her take kind of a deep breath. Maybe the smoke that was wisping out. She's like breathes in and back out, and you can see like a little wisp of smoke kind of coming out of her nose. They'll be like, "Hello there. What can I do for you?" Kind of look. Let's give her a quick. Let's see if she recognizes you, because she would see a lot of people. Oh, not 20. Oh, you're the little fawn from what's the name of the town? They come down here sometimes. Sildren. What was your name? She rolled really well. She definitely recognizes you. Think you've had positive interactions with her in the past? I imagine Dexuru would be pretty, like, quiet and matter-of-fact coming in, which she would probably respect. So, unless you want to have ticked her off, I will say that she doesn't mind you. You know, Cassie's friend. Oh, Cassie, yeah. That's a good girl, that one. She's always the best. She really knows her steel, too. You'll see her, like, what do they do? She finishes smacking the hammer and, like, grabs it with the tongs and goes and it plunges into the water. There's, like, a sizzle of smoke kind of goes all over. Tisby Dex. Tisby I Dex, and I sweep a bow. Yeah, sure, like a respectful little bow. Introduce yourself. Well, what can I do for you, friend of Cassie's? What? Do you need armor? Your armor. She'll kind of like point as if she were wearing armor and be like, "What happened to your armor? Do you think that she made your armor? Do you need a new one? Did you wear it out already? You fawns, you fall from the rocks." Oh, I hope not. I mean, it's not a bad thing if she made your armor. You're just gonna assume you're here for something? Armor? Sword? What can I do for you? Kind of continues, like, frantically working at the stuff she's got. And she'll kind of, like, look over her shoulder. She's, I don't know, doing smithy things to this piece of armor she's got. She'll go, why you quit? You're always a good one. One good ones. She'll nod, like, approvingly. And then I think she would be like, I'm not buying right now. Well, she might be buying that. Things have gone missing and you're remaking lots of things. She'll kind of like, very, very busy. Everybody wants stuff and not enough material. Leadership. Yeah, I like that too. And she'll shake her head like, yes, this is why I work for myself. I can only be mad at myself. Continues, like, doing her work. This whole time she's talking to you, she is actively doing work. The materials I'm missing, nobody knows where it is. Everybody is struggling right now. Dang, miners don't know how to find things anymore. Material, I don't remember it ever happening before. So what is wrong with the material? Seems unusual, and she'll be like, yes, very unusual. I don't know if they just lost it. You know how you lose all that copper. Or copper, maybe not copper. What's something you would use in like an iron? Lose all that iron, but they managed it. Not many, not much in the brains, those ones. She's definitely blaming miners. That or somebody's taking it all. I'm sure that Scholars Guild is taking a bunch of pyrite. Is that what you use? I don't know. I don't know enough about smithing. There would be various materials that are being pulled from the ground. Oh, so the material's missing. Not just bad. Not just bad. Oh, yeah, that's... there's been delays in deliveries, obviously, from what you've talked. Yeah. Oh, it's fine. That's why it's absolutely acceptable to ask for clarification. Yeah. From what the Scholars Guild and Cassie and everybody has been saying, the materials themselves, like, there's been a shortage, essentially. The mining operations have reported that some stuff's gone missing, and that might be where the confusion happened. That, like, they've been missing lots of stuff. Little things here and there, like materials going missing, but also the tools. Does that clarify it for you a little bit? Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Back to Cassie's. Oh. Anything else you want to ask the Smith? Do that. Smith would be like, so I can do nothing for you? You always had good taste for steel, too. It'll be a few weeks, but if you come back, just would go undercover at the mining operation. Yeah, that's an option. What she thinks of that. Yeah, I would say you've been wandering around for a bit, so it's probably getting into early afternoon. She'll probably be on shift for a while, because I think we said she was just going on, like, out on patrol. Maybe she was on her break when you came in. Is that what you want to do? You want to go out at Cassie's house? She would have given you a key or whatever you needed to get in. Mechanics-wise, if there's any sort of weapons or things you're thinking of putting in order, but she has been very clear there will be a delay. Thinking if you want to talk more to the Sith. It's the wrong genre, Maz. You can't talk to the Sith. Yeah, you can. She doesn't seem to mind you being there. She is still like, damn it. Nice try. That Dexuru's last name? Skywalker? Rockwalker, that would be interesting. Cook her a nice supper, hit the market on the way back. You can, yeah. I think with there being farms in the area, it probably wouldn't even cost your full handful of gold. Really need our chainmail. That's up to you. Above table, I think bare bones loses some of the usefulness as you go up in rank, like just because there's other domain cards that are more useful. Right up to the smith. Yeah, you good. For now, I've only envisioned this as like a level 1 adventure, just so you can make an informed choice, but depending on how well it goes, I could see us coming back to it at some point, but surely, through adventuring, and get some money to buy other armor. I'll give you that option if you want to get rid of it for now. Let's see. I think Maz is talking about selling the chainmail because with bare bones, you're better off not wearing the armor. And that's probably going to be true for all of tier 1. It's not until you get, like, better armor, like there's certain magical armors and stuff you can get at higher levels. That's usually when bare bones becomes less helpful. Plus the bonus isn't always as good at the higher levels. Monsters out, make us some money. But yeah. I will say we rolled Cass. It was Jeff's idea, remember? Cassie is a fur bulk, so I think she's a little bit bigger than you, if you were thinking about giving it to Cassie. I'm sure with some amount of work it could be made to fit her, but she's probably got her own armor she's comfortable in. Yeah, if you want to sell the armor, that's fine. Not gonna tell you one way or the other if you should. Bare bones will definitely cover you through a lot of level 1, though. Just be aware that if you ever ditch that domain card, you will drop to the no armor stats. So that's usually not an issue until you hit a higher level anyways. To our smith friend. Do the dinner thing, okay. You guys are gonna make me look up how much the armor is worth. Google it. I'm gonna guess it's a couple handfuls. That sounds right in my brain. Actually, because she's desperate and you're offering her like a steel thing, she might pay a little more for it. I don't know. The downside of Daggerheart being so narrative focused is that some of the mechanics, like gold, not that D&D's economy is fantastic, but like deciding how much things cost is a little. Because I'd like to kind of stay rules as written while people are getting to know this, I'm gonna try and look it up here quick. I'm gonna roll a d6 plus 1, I think. We'll see how a d6 plus 1. 1. We'll do a d4 plus 2, because I think she would definitely give you at least 2 handfuls for it. Where's my d4? D4 time! Oh yeah! 3. Someone really likes to roll 3. Yeah, you'll get 5 handfuls. She's gonna let, as you take the armor out and offer it to her, unless you've changed your mind and don't want it or like you want to keep it, you can't scarecrow anymore. As you pull it out, you're gonna be like, oh hey, would this be helpful? And you're gonna pull out this chainmail and she's gonna look at it like, what do you mean? For I can definitely resell. Yeah. You're gonna offer it to her, she will happily give you 5 handfuls of gold. I'd sell it. Okay. Chainmail is gone. 5 handfuls of gold. I will even put it in chat. Oh. Perfect. But you're gonna go buy some stuff. I'll say you can do a nice dinner for a handful of gold. Also, I don't want to have to deal with like half handfuls and things like that. So I mean, like if you want to get some drinks, and you would know Cassie well enough to know what kind of drinks she likes and what kind of food. Yeah, so we'll go -1 handful. Perfect. Yeah, you can put together a really nice meal for a handful of gold. You're gonna go hit up the other market. Are you looking for anything else in particular, like taking in the sights? Here, as you're walking around, you're kind of, I assume, what would fur bulks eat? I pictured them as being more like vegetable oriented. As you're going out looking for like fresh veggies and stuff, you'll hear a forager arguing with one of the merchants. Not arguing, but chatting. And the merchant's gonna say something about like, really, not a lot of mushrooms lately? Forger's gonna be like, you know, I keep checking the usual places, but like, you know, it's like they've gone rotten. They're just not good. They're like slimy. Merchant will kind of grimace and go, yeah, I don't blame you for not wanting to mess with those. And then you'll hear more general like whispers about missing, about gear delays and all that fun stuff. Mushrooms, you would also hear like another forager or maybe like a hunter as you're looking at food. They're going to talk about, yeah, I think there's definitely like something in the forest that's scaring away all the deer. I feel like I haven't seen one in a week. Like this town is heading for a crisis. It's fine. Don't take my morals away. Do you have morals, Jeff? Sounds like this town's heading for a crisis. In this fantasy role-playing game, there's a town in crisis? Crazy. Crazy. That is outrageous, Maz. Are you going to Cassie's house? Are you gonna adventure anywhere else? I think you've seen a lot of the sights so far. You're getting to find your way around town pretty well. The mushroom. Or mummy fungus. Oh, nummy fungus. I was like, mummy fungus. You're putting words in my mouth. Predicted this could have happened. Side note, it would be fun to run a campaign where, like, bad luck is just following the party, and that's why bad things happen around them. It's not them being, like, helpful adventurers, they're bringing disaster. There's always stuff going on. Okay, if there's nothing else you want to do, are you heading back to Cassie's? It's probably getting to be about mid-afternoon now. Definitely close to a proper supper time. Be right back. Shower time. I think we're probably going to tie it up if you're going back to Cassie's house. We'll get some hot stuff rolled. You would know Cassie well enough. You have no problem letting yourself in. Kind of climber around the kitchen. You find pots. Are you making anything in particular? Maybe like a nice stew. I feel like a stew is a common enough thing that you wouldn't. Do we want to roll for it? That's fun though. It would be fun. They're bovines. So I mean, maybe not using beef stock, but you can definitely do like a vegetable stock stew. Sorry guys, we're switching to beast feast now. We'll do a general cooking check. What do we think that's gonna be? I feel like a knowledge roll. Maybe you're trying to make a recipe from when you guys were kids. Oh, you did really well. Look at that. Yeah. You rolled a 14. Overwhelmingly with hope. So I think, yeah, you're like, oh man, I should do something nice for her. And you think back to this really nice memory you have of like being at her house and her mom making her favorite meal or whatever. And so you start out about that and you do a good job. You're like, oh man, yeah, the smell like kicks in the memory as you're making it. Fast forward and Cassie will come home and she'll be like, oh my god, you did it! Did you make woodland stew? My favorite! She's gonna be super excited. She'll be very happy with you. Oh, I gotta give you your. You're gonna be full up on resources for next time, aren't you? I assume you guys will spend the rest of the night catching up. She'll just tell you general life things. Yeah, I think as part of the conversation, she would have brought up like, oh gosh, everybody's like been so stressed at work. One of the other guards said they like saw a bear or something walking on its hind legs in the forest. I don't think he saw something normal, but weird about it and refusing to go out since then. And then I think that would segue for you to go into the like, yeah, it seems like there's a lot of weird things happening in this town. Maybe there's something you can do to help. She would kind of shrug at you saying the undercover thing, she's like, well, I mean, it wouldn't be an officially sanctioned guard thing, but sure, if you go ask somebody, they would be okay with it. I'll tell you what. Let's talk to the guard captain of name to be determined in this town. But like, we can ask him tomorrow. I'm sure. Like, I would hate for you to get in trouble for doing something that you're not supposed to. We could use the help. Is there anything else you'd like to do before hitting the hay? Got downtime activities. I might waive the fear for this roll because I think it's gonna put me on full anyways. 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh no, it wouldn't. Actually, there's a chance it might not. Well, 2. I got 3. It literally was just enough to fill it up. But that won't be an issue. Definitely not a feeling of foreboding over this town. Yeah, her suggestion will be to talk to them tomorrow. A lot of fear. To be fair, I didn't have a lot of like big combats planned because we're getting like into the story, and the ones that were a possibility you kind of avoided. So, okay. You guys are also full on hope too. Your downtime activities, I think you are actually full on hope, so it doesn't really work for you to even prepare. I will. Maybe I'll make a note. Make a note about your wanting a non-lethal weapon, and we'll say that you worked on that. You got Cassie to kind of help you with it. A project, yes. This was always going to be a little bit of a slower start just because that's what it takes to start getting into it, but I'm sure we'll find something fun to do next. Okay. Next morning, are you going with Cassie to the guard tower? I assume so. That's just something else you wanted to do? She would have brought up the conversation from the night before and been like, yeah, let's go get it on the, like, yeah, I think it's just you. We're coming to the end of this. I think we've got a couple lurkers, but they like to watch, yeah. Oh, you mad? No pressure. By the way, a Taras drops in. Yeah. I assume that you guys would want to follow her, since you're the ones who brought it up. We'll get to the guard tower, and you will see that there's already more people there than you would expect. There is a... Oh, we're gonna roll another character. We're gonna roll one more character. We're kind of at the end of this, but... So, as you walk in, you will see this goblin. They will be arguing with the guards. So there'll be a couple guards like in the area. It'll be this goblin and a couple other folks who are a little more like there's like dirt under their nails and stuff like that. You get the impression they're minors. No, not the guard captain. The person who is arguing the goblin. You gather as you're listening to these people argue because you and Cassie walk in. You're like, there's like an active argument happening. The goblin, you gather, is one of the mining camp foremans. And he is screaming at the guard, some of the guards, about like, this is your fault! We've been telling you about this problem for weeks and you just brushed us off! And he's just like very, very erratic. They are very, very erratic. And the guard calms them down a little bit. And they go, okay, we need more information than that. Let's start at the beginning. Tell us, where did you find the body? I think this is where we're gonna stop for tonight.